Our top story on the show this Tuesday on India Global. Prime Minister Modi has landed at the Calgary International Airport in Canada on Tuesday, and he will be attending the G7 summit that is to take place near Alberta very soon. This is the Prime Minister's first visit to Canada since 2015. It comes following an official invitation from the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. During the 23-hour tour, the Prime Minister will hold bilateral meetings with global leaders and attend the outreach session at the G7 summit. This comes over a month after India launched its Operation Sindoor that targeted terror infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in retaliation for the April 22 Pahalgam terror attacks. Even though India is not a member of the G7, Prime Minister Modi has been invited to the grouping sittings and meetings consistently since 2019. The invitation reflects the kind of importance that India has now in the world and on the new global order where India is now a major stakeholder. The visit has global attention as it marks Prime Minister Modi's first visit to Canada since the diplomatic ties between the two countries deteriorated following the killing of Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar in 2023 and the diplomatic fallout that followed. All right, let's quickly first play out this report that has been filed by my colleague Maha Siddiqui, who is on ground tracking the summit for us. She's spoken to students in Canada in the wake of, remember, there's been diplomatic uncertainty that has followed. It has impacted people-to-people ties, particularly the student community as well. Let's listen in.
Indian students are a global lot these days. But what that means is a friction between the governments of two countries can have an immediate fallout on this younger lot. I have with me a group of students from India here in Canada. Let's speak to them about their expectations now that the relations between India and Canada seem to be improving. Many thanks all of you for speaking with NDTV. I'll start off with you. What expectation do you now have for the students, considering that there were some unique problems that students from India were facing in Canada? Do you think the fact that Prime Minister Modi is coming to Canada is a good sign even for the students?
I think it's an amazing sign, and as someone who calls herself a youth leader here in Calgary and Cheshire, I'm very, very happy to say that we, the students here as well as the Indian diaspora, we are eagerly ready to welcome Prime Minister Modi ji into Canada, and we really hope that this visit leads to a better alignment of Canada and India's values as well as their goals for both nations, and they work towards developing and building a mutually beneficial and effective relationship and alliance which can help and benefit both populations of India and Canada, and definitely can help some of our students as well, and we don't feel so split amongst our loyalties as well as amongst which country to favor.
I have with me a group of business persons here in Calgary, and they are keenly awaiting the Prime Minister's visit in the hope that this will act as an icebreaker. What are the sectors where you see an improvement in trade between India and Canada, especially once the relationship gets better?
Yeah, I think it would be mainly oil and gas, which is basically India's importer. LNG they can import from Canada, and then oil also. And that is the big for India, and then for Canada it is vice versa. It should be basically defense and technology and IT.
With regards to issues like visas as well, they become a problem whenever there is a friction between the two countries, causing a lot of problem to the common man. But I want you all to explain the fallout on the trading community as well, the business persons, when such visa hurdles are created.
So I can say one thing. There is so many gossips going between both countries. Right now, the relation going to start right away. So might be once they sit both countries together, there is so many things they have to settle, and especially the visa, student visas or work permits. Right now, 2025, there is so many visas is expiring. Fortunately, if both countries has like a good relation, definitely they can give like a good opportunity for the newcomers or like students or everyone. We are expecting those things.
Mr. Bhattacharya, as I said, the two parallel threads that I want to address, one, the global trends that are happening, the big global events in the backdrop of which this summit is taking place, and parallelly what you're an expert of, trade, that is likely to be so important simply because Canada said that we want India in the summit for, well, want of many reasons, one of which is the fact that the Canadian economy needs an economic growth engine that India provides. So in your assessment, how do you see India's role and also the kind of Indian trade relationships in the backdrop of such a clear, overt statement by the Canadian Prime Minister saying that the Canadian economy needs the Indian economy's growth stimulus?
The only way for a country like India to maintain its strategic autonomy is to continue to grow both economically and militarily. As we have seen in recent times, that it is not enough to be only economically powerful, but it is also extremely important to be militarily powerful in the current geopolitical situation where there are conflicts all over the place. And therefore, coming back to what India should be doing to maintain its strategic autonomy is to maintain the relationships with every single country from a position of strength. And that position of strength needs to be earned. And it's a difficult, long journey. But we have already become the fourth largest economy, and we are poised to become the third largest economy. And we are clearly the fastest growing large economy in the world. And I think those are strengths that need to be leveraged, because when we come down to the table, the world has become increasingly revolving around realpolitik in terms of short-term interests, and those interests can be traded only if you've got something to trade with, which means that you need to have an economic strength and backed by a very strong military to ensure that you are in a position of strength when having these conversations / negotiations with the rest of the world.
Brahmachilani, final question I want to ask you, which is that this is a summit that is taking place in the backdrop of the escalating tensions between Iran and Israel. The G7 statement has been very clear that Iran needs to back off. They are also supporting Israel's strikes. But where do you see this going? Do you see the G7 as in terms of ensuring that at least one of the sides exercises restraint, or do you see G7 playing a major role in being able to come about with some sort of a ceasefire?
The fact that Trump agreed to sign on to a statement on the Israel-Iran conflict only after the wording was changed. The wording was changed to please Trump, who wanted the statement to be clearly partisan. He wanted the statement to take Israel's side and not call for de-escalation by Israel and Iran. He wanted to pin the blame only on Iran. And that really goes to show that the G7 really cannot play the role of an honest broker. Yet, if there is going to be a way out of this conflict, nuclear diplomacy will have to be restored. The nuclear diplomacy has been derailed by Israel's attack on Iran, but Iran today is completely isolated. It stands alone. Its missile defenses have been decimated. Its arsenal of missiles is dwindling, and the only escape route for Iran today is to return to talks with the US. And I think with a weakened hand, Iran may have to submit to Trump's demands in a way that it could have escaped had a deal been reached before Israel's attack began.
All right. Trump left the G7 summit early. He said he has something more important than Iran-Israel crisis. There's an expectation that he will be in the Situation Room with his advisors, and there will be some sort of a positive movement and at least an update on that front. All right, viewers, I'm going to slip into a very short break. And gentlemen, thank you so much for helping us decode what could be the big takeaways of the G7 summit. I'm going to slip into a break, come back on the other side, talk more about the specific bilaterals, 4 important bilaterals that Prime Minister Modi will hold today. What could be the key focus areas there? We come back and decode that. Stay with us. So viewers, there will be some very important bilateral discussions that the PM will hold after the outreach session. In fact, before the outreach session, there will be 4 key bilaterals that the PM will have. It will include one with the Canadian Prime Minister, the Italian Prime Minister as well, Giorgia Meloni. Along with that, there will be the German Chancellor and also the Ukraine President. All of 4 will be very crucial. It will further India's trade interests, geostrategic interests, and of course the big one, Canada, in terms of putting a complete reset button, or at least pushing the reset button when it comes to the ties. Let's get in a voice to decode this in detail. We have with us Ambassador Sachdev, who joins us to talk more on this. These are all very important bilaterals that will take place. Sir, in your assessment, what would be your expectation from first the India-Canada bilateral relations, that is taking a bilateral discussion that will take place?
I think this is an important opportunity for us to reset our bilateral ties that have faced considerable disruptions in the past for various allegations made by the Canadian side, which have upended not only diplomatic ties, but also people-to-people ties. Indian government has been miffed at accusations being hurled about India's involvement in Niger killing and also about elections meddling in Canada. And these were not substantiated by the past Canadian government of Prime Minister Trudeau. And that led to soured relations between us. Prime Minister Carney is an economist. He faces an economy that has been upended by the US tariff, the largest trading partner of Canada, and he needs all the friends that he can get.
Okay.
India and Canada have vibrant trade ties. Particularly significant apart from $8.5 billion.
Let me quickly ask you, sir, what about Germany and Italy? Those were the other 2 important bilaterals that will take place. How do you see those? A lot of focus would be on trade there?
I think so. I think these 2 are very important components of European Union, which has been negotiating with India a comprehensive trade and economic agreement likely to be signed by the end of this year. Some kinks remain about natural persons and tariffs, etc. And Germany being the European Union's largest economy, Italy having a vibrant exchange with India in trade lately, are 2 important partners that India would be able to try and persuade bilaterally to have EU take a more purposive line and not to insist on its own domestic agenda.
All right, I'm going to leave it there, sir. We're going to keep tracking that big story later in the evening as well.